Where's who would have thought that's something you'd be giving to reading through multiple laptops? That's actually multiple screens. Chapters 9 and 10. We'll start with chapter 10, verse 160. If you don't pull that up on your keys. Leave chapter 10, text 160. Chapter is called The Branches of the Caitanya Tree. Shakale, Laging, Kuti Kuti, Dala, Tara, Shishyam, Upashishyam, No, Upadala, Ekaika Shakati Lagi Koti Koti Dala, Ekaika Lagi Koti Koti Dala, Tara Shishya Upashishya Tara Padala, Tara Shishya Upashara Padala, Eka Shakati Lagi Koti Koti Dala, Shishya Tara Upadala,
Lagi koti koti dalam. Shisha upa shisha tara upa dala. Ega ega samatingi koti koti dala. Ega ega koti koti dala. Shisha upa shisha tara upa dala.
Eka eka,
Ega ega
each sakate, lage, koti koti, hundreds of thousands, dala, Tara, Shishya, disciples, Upashishya, sub-disciples, Tara, his, Upadala, sub-branches. Translation report by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. From each branch of the tree have grown hundreds and thousands of sub-branches of disciples and grand disciples. Purport. It was the desire of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that his cult be spread all over the world. Therefore, there is a great necessity for many the branches of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's disciplic succession. His cult should be spread not only in a few villages, or in Bengal, or in India, but all over the world. It is very regrettable that complacent so-called devotees criticize the members of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness for accepting sannyas and spreading the cult of Lord Chaitanya all over the world. It is not our business to criticize anyone, but because they try to find fault with this movement, the real truth must be stated. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted devotees all over the world, and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur confirmed this. It is in pursuit of their will that the ISKCON movement is spreading all over the world. Genuine devotees of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu must take pride in the spread of the Krishna consciousness movement instead of viciously criticizing its propaganda work. So apparently at that time, Srila Prabhupada was being criticized for going to the West and initiating devotees and making other sannyasis from among those devotees. But this was just kind of the tip of the iceberg verse to get the conversation started. And I wanted to give a little bit more context by reading excerpts of the previous chapters leading up to this verse. So it'll be a little challenging for you to follow along because I'm just basically taking excerpts from verses and purport leading up to this. But if you want to follow along for this first part, Adi Lila chapter 9, the overview, the chapter overview. The desired tree of devotional service. This is excerpted from Bhaktivinoda Thakur's overview. In this chapter, the author of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita has devised a figurative example by describing the desired tree of bhakti. He considers Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is known as Vishrambar, to be the gardener of this tree because he is the main personality who has taken charge of it. As a supreme enjoyer, he enjoyed the fruits himself and distributed them as well. The seed of the tree was first sown in Navadvip, the birth site of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then the tree was brought to Purushottam Kshetra, Jagannath Puri, then to Vrindavan. The seed fructified first in Srila Madhavendra Puri, and then in his disciple, Ishvara Puri.
It is figuratively described that both the tree itself and the trunk of the tree are Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Paramananda Puri and 8 other great sannyasis are like the spreading roots of the tree. From the main trunk, there extend 2 special branches, Advaita Prabhu and Sri Nityananda Prabhu. And from those branches grow the other branches and twigs. The tree surrounds the entire world, and the fruits of the tree are to be distributed to everyone. In this way, the tree of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu intoxicates the entire world. It should be noted that this is a figurative example, meant to explain the mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Some excerpts from purports and translations leading up to the verse we just read. Thus, the branches of the Chaitanya tree formed a cluster or society with great branches covering all the universe. Our International Society for Krishna Consciousness is one of the branches of this Chaitanya tree. There is no distinction made between those who are fit and those who are not fit to hear or partake in the Sankirtan movement. It should therefore be preached without discrimination. The only purpose of the preachers of the Sankirtan movement must be to go on preaching without restriction. That is the way in which Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu introduced the Sankirtan movement to the world. The distribution of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra should be performed by combined forces. This indicates that all classes of devotees should combine to distribute the Hare Krishna Mahamantra without consideration of time, place, or situation. This is a translation. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is quoting Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, I order every person within this universe to accept this Krishna consciousness movement and distribute it everywhere. Distribute this Krishna consciousness movement all over the world. Let people eat these fruits and ultimately become free from old age and death. Purport. Excerpt. The Krishna consciousness movement introduced by Lord Chaitanya is extremely important because one who takes to it becomes eternal, being freed from birth, death, and old age. Those who are actually servants of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu must seriously distribute this movement all over the world to render the greatest benefit to human society. Mahaprabhu continues, if the fruits are distributed all over the world, my reputation as a pious man will be known everywhere, and thus all people will glorify my name with great pleasure. Purport. This prediction of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is now actually coming to pass. The Krishna consciousness movement is being distributed all over the world through the chanting of the holy name of the Lord, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And people who are leading confused, chaotic lives are now feeling transcendental happiness. They are finding peace in Sankirtan. The practical effect of spreading the Krishna consciousness movement all over the world is that now the most degraded debauchees are becoming the most elevated saints. This is only one Indian's humble service to the world. Prabhupada speaking about himself. Now, on the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Krishna consciousness movement has been started and people are benefiting from this movement. Therefore, it is now the duty of the leading men of India to consider the importance of this movement and train many Indians to go outside of India to preach this cult. People will accept it. There will be cooperation among the Indian people and among the other people of the world. And the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will then be fulfilled. This is not only the duty of Indians, but the duty of everyone, and we are very happy that American and European boys and girls are seriously cooperating with this movement. One should know definitely that the best welfare activity for all human society is to awaken man's God consciousness or Krishna consciousness. Therefore, everyone should help this great movement. Even if one does not have money, he can preach the Hare Krishna mantra to everyone. One can go everywhere to every home and request everyone to chant the Hare Krishna mantra. Thus, the entire world situation will become very happy and peaceful. The Sankirtan movement is especially meant for the purpose of making people happy. It is the desire of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that the benevolent activities of the Sankirtan movement, which was inaugurated 500 years ago in Navadvip, be spread all over the world for the benefit of all human beings. Translation. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the great gardener, sees that people are chanting, dancing, and laughing, and that some of them are rolling on the floor, and some are making loud humming sounds after eating lots of halava, he smiles with great pleasure. Purport. This attitude of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very important for persons engaged in the Hare Krishna movement of Krishna consciousness. In every center of our institution, ISKCON, we have arranged for a love feast every Sunday. And when we actually see people come to our center, chant, dance, take prasad, become jubilant, and purchase books, we know that certainly Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is always present in such transcendental activities, and he's very pleased and satisfied. Therefore, the members of ISKCON must increase this movement more and more, according to the principles that we are presently trying to execute. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, thus being pleased, will smilingly glance upon all of you, bestowing his favor, and the movement will be successful. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami offers equal respects to all the preachers of the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who are compared to the branches of the tree. ISKCON is one of these branches. There are no hospitals to cure the material disease of the spirit soul. The Krishna consciousness movement has taken up the mission of curing this disease. A diseased person needs both proper medicine and proper diet, and therefore the Krishna consciousness movement supplies materially stricken people with the medicine of the chanting of the holy name, or the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and the diet of prasadam. The centers of the Krishna consciousness movement are the only established hospitals that can cure man of birth, death, old age, and disease. As members of the Krishna consciousness movement, we belong to the family or disciplic succession of Saraswati Goswami. Thus we are known as Saraswatas. Obeisances are therefore offered to the spiritual master as Saraswata Deva, or a member of the Saraswat family, Namaste Saraswati Devi, whose mission is to broadcast the cult of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Gauravani Pracharine, and to fight with impersonalists and voidists, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Adeshatarine. Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami very kindly preached this bhakti cult in Western India, and following their footsteps, the propagators of the Chaitanya cult in the Western countries are spreading the Sankirtan movement and inculcating the principles of Vaishnava behavior, thus purifying and reforming many persons who were accustomed to the culture of mlechas and yavanas. All of our devotees in the Western countries give up their old habits of illicit sex, intoxication, meat eating, and gambling. Most of the devotees of Lord Chaitanya lived in Bengal and Orissa, thus they are celebrated as Gaudiyas and Oriyas. At present, however, by the grace of Chaitanya, his cult is being propagated all over the world, and it is most probable that in the future history of Lord Chaitanya's movement, Europeans, Americans, Canadians, Australians, South Americans, Asians, and people from all over the world will be celebrated as devotees of Lord Chaitanya. In other words, it'll be the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Australia Sampradaya, right? The International Society for Krishna Consciousness has already constructed Mayapur, which is being visited by devotees from all parts of the world, as foretold by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and anticipated by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So these are some excerpts leading up to this verse that we read today. Can we read that verse again, the translation? Somebody?
From each branch of the tree I
Loudly, loudly.
Oh, sorry. From each branch of the tree I grow hundreds and thousands of sub-branches of disciples.
Om Jnana Timanandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshura Tasmai Shri Yadve. Yesterday, Rupananda Prabhu was reminding us that our goal is ultimately to grow and expand ISKCON. That's why we're here. So I think this section of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, because whenever I read it, it's especially inspiring to me to see how Srila Prabhupada is just carrying on this mission that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started, and his vision, right? As leaders, we're asked to come up with vision. And they say that leaders ask what and why, right? And managers ask how and when, right? So the leaders have to think about the vision. What's the big picture? What's the global vision? What are we doing? And then our management side has to kick in. We have to figure out how to get it done. In 1976, Srila Prabhupada gave a famous lecture in Mayapur, and I didn't really realize this before, but actually he started by, it was in the GBC meetings. He was addressing the GBC, and then later on he was in the temple room giving a lecture to everyone, to all his temple presidents and everyone. Prabhupada said, "You each be guru. As I have 5,000 disciples or 10,000, so you have 10,000 each. In this way, create branches and branches of the Chaitanya tree." How many devotees are there in ISKCON today? 10,000 initiates back in 1976. Anybody want to take a guess? Hmm?
Over a million?
Over a million?
500?
How many initiated ISKCON devotees? Congregation members, we can also consider 350,000. Any other suggestions? Hmm? At present, 500,000. Very optimistic guesses. 100,000. My best guess at this point is somewhere around 200, 250,000 initiated devotees, because we have some of our gurus have quite a few, and if you take all of those, that's probably 100,000. And then, all of our other gurus combined, somewhere between 200 to 250,000 initiated devotees. Congregation members, many more. If we did Srila Prabhupada's math, and all of those 200,000 accepted what, 10,000 disciples, right? I lowered the bar a little. I said, what if each person, each initiated devotee in ISKCON just makes 40 devotees? If we each make 40 devotees each, that just means you reach out to your friends and coworkers and try to bring them to the temple and get them interested in Krishna consciousness, right? 10,000 is quite a huge number. I don't think most people will be. But 40, right? Let's say 200,000 devotees make 40 devotees each within your lifetime. And generationally, approximately every 25 years. So by 2050, we'd have 8 million devotees. Let's say those 8 million make 40 devotees each, one generation later. By 2075, we'd have 320 million. If those 320 million make 40 devotees each, by 2100, we would have 12 billion devotees. And the world population by 2100 is supposed to reach about 11 billion. So we'll be in good shape, right? Now in North America, um, we talked about at our leadership conference trying to make 3% of the North American population into favorable, coming to the Sunday program at least 20 times a year or whatever, right? So let's say we only have 10,000 devotees initiated in North America. The number is probably more, 30, 40,000. But let's say, figure for the purpose of this exercise, 10,000. And we make 34 devotees each. Not so difficult, right? Well, devotees, sure, okay. You're going to make disciples. I'll try to make 34 devotees. And they can become your disciples. They can become your disciples. I know. How many of us are currently qualified? So if we can make 34 devotees each, within 2 generations, we'll reach 11 million Hare Krishna devotees. So not so hard, right? If we set our mind to it. In this context, in this regard, I recently attended a seminar, a workshop given by a youth leader, Pandavasena youth leader, Sandipani Prabhu. And it was in New Vrindavan when they had their retreat there with some of the Pandavasena youth. And he called it the big sky thinking exercise. And he got the Pandavasena youth into a room and he gave them a challenge. He said, "What if it was um, what if it was up to you to make the entire UK Christian conscious within the next 10 years? How would you go about doing it? Across every sector, every segment of society, education, arts, entertainment, uh, science, government, right? Business, all sectors of society. How would you approach, how would you cater to those sectors and try to make everyone Christian conscious in the entire United Kingdom?" He asked for people, he asked people to state their inclinations. Would you like to preach in art and entertainment? Would you like to preach to scientists? Whatever, right? And so they got into smaller groups, and then he asked them to brainstorm ideas and suggestions of how they would go about it. By the end of the seminar, he wrote everything down. They wrote it down on a piece of paper, and then he compiled it onto a spreadsheet. And he's been doing this with the Fund of Asena in different places, all over England, etc. And now he's got a list of a spreadsheet of like 100 each in each group who want to preach in different segments of society. And they've come up with hundreds of ideas how to do it. And he's like, now all we need to do is give you a little seed money, a little encouragement, and empower you to go ahead and do it. When I sat through that exercise, the first 10 minutes in, I'm already like, tears of ecstasy are going down my face. I'm like, wow, this is exactly what we need to be doing with our young people. These are the exercises. This is how we need to be thinking, right? To expand the Caitanya tree. How are we going to expand all over the world, right? Not just the low-hanging fruits, but, everything. So, what do you think about this exercise, the big sky thinking exercise? You like it? Yeah. We should do this with our devotees in our communities. What are some possible obstacles or challenges we would have to overcome to implement this kind of thinking? What's holding us back at the moment?
Just busy putting out fires.
Busy putting out fires, yeah. What else?
What's the question? Obstacle to
What are some of the obstacles that are preventing us from doing this exercise and actually acting on it?
lack of consistency.
Lack of consistency, like,
Say, well, we do project.
okay, all right.
There's no inspiration.
No, lack of inspiration, yeah.
Courage. Courage.
Courage. You need to have some courage, right? Take risks for Srila Prabhupada, for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Some of us are maybe a little bit complacent, right? We're so used to our routine, we don't want to disturb the routine. I was at a temple president's meeting not too long ago, and I asked one of our temple presidents how it's going at their temple. We'd received a few complaints. And he said, "It's going great, Prabhu. We used to have so many problems and managerial headaches. Now almost nobody comes, and it's so peaceful and so quiet." I'm like, that's one way to look at the world. You may want to consider a different service. Be a hermit in the forest somewhere. Hmm. Yeah. Complacency, laziness. It's so easy to go for the low-hanging fruits. Why bother preaching to anyone else? Um, Lack of motivation, lack of faith. We need to educate our devotees that this is actually the vision that we should be striving for, right? Not just you all come to the Sunday feast, we have a good time and go home. It used to be that the Sunday feast was new people. You come to the Sunday feast in Alachua, where I live, and it's all the devotees just having a party with amongst themselves. Like, where are the guests, right? We need to become broad-minded. Srila Prabhupada says that the Mahatma thinks of everyone's welfare, not just our own welfare. So education, educating the devotees, and we as leaders need to develop this movement, this vision, right? How to be relevant to a wider audience is also a challenge, right? Because we can say, okay, we want to spread Krishna consciousness to everyone, right? Across all sectors of society. How are we going to speak their language? How are we going to appeal to them? How are we going to be relevant? One of my services is to work at Krishna.com, And Jadwaita Swami told us many years ago that everything that we do, everything that we publish on the website, Krishna.com, needs to be understandable by the average housewife in Minnesota. They need to be able to comprehend, right? Can't be using like Haribol and devotee lingo, like, pravachan this and, darshan that, and like, we have to use English and try to explain things in simple ways. So our teaching section at Krishna.com, many devotees spent a long time trying to come up with our basic philosophy, our basic teachings in simple ways that the public can understand. So how to be relevant, right? What role could our young people and our youth play in this endeavor? I'm asking a rhetorical question, I hope.
How do you try to
Young people, from age 18 through 30 or so.
That's probably the demographic that's gonna like join. So there.
So that's the demographic that we're aiming, hoping that would join. So how can some of our youth who are currently in ISKCON help us in this endeavor?
talking to college friends?
Oh.
Talk to people in their room?
Has government and apart from that, there are involved punishment. More often now there are more kids that are there also can win on invitations to come to the temple and participate.
Srinagar and then Vishwambar.
I mean, obviously, they probably can relate better to the general population. So they should be our ambassadors. And we should give them more empowerment so that they can actually come up with a vision on how to take us to the next step.
Step one, I think, first thing they need to be closed. Second is youth need to have a key.
Okay.
Yeah, along those lines, they ask them about what they think would work, and they're more connected to that age range and how do they think they can share mission passes with them rather than trying to tell them how to do it.
But I think what we're missing is proper genius or the initial time lack of resources. Actually, make people see that there is work is feasible. Putting them all in one place and having the lifestyle, live the lifestyle that they go out and reach full. We don't want everyone to leave everything and come. But at least there should be a experience where they can experience it. Then it is something that I know
We need more ashrams. We need Krishna houses at every temple, right? Now Maharaj helping young people help spread the Krishna consciousness movement.
I think there's big untapped demographic, not demographic, but a way, on social media, like where the young people are really deeply in there. Devotees are not there as much as they could be. Like young preaching their direct.
We're talking about disciples. Did you know that? Who knows Gauramani? Gauramani, the sister of Gopi Gita. She has a Kirtan YouTube channel. How many followers? A few million followers that subscribe to her YouTube channel. Anything she says, anything she posts, they suck it up, they absorb it. Talk about potential, right? For spreading Krishna consciousness.
Give them leadership position.
Train them, right? Send them to the course and empower them. Yes. What are some things that we could do and start now in our own lives to start thinking like this and start acting like this?
Empower the youth.
Okay, empower the youth. What about ourselves?
Be an example.
Be an example. Be an example. Start reaching out to other people. I made a list of things here.
Clarity of purpose.
Clarity of purpose. So if we ourselves have clarity of purpose and vision, right? This is our vision. Expanding the Chaitanya tree to every town and village.
Be missionary. Be missionary.
Being missionaries, right? Practice what we preach or what we teach. Actually preach, or go out and preach. How about answering the phone? Peter Burwash came to our temple president's meetings 20 years ago and said that he actually did an experiment. He called those 40, 50 temples we had back then. He said only 10 of them actually answered their phone. Hmm? Yes. So, if we want to expand Christian consciousness and people are trying to reach us, answer the phone, right? Greet guests when they come. Improve the guest experience to exceed expectations so guests invite their friends to come. Update your contact info on the temple address list in the books that we have and in Back to God magazine. If your phone number is out of date, your email is out of date, how are people going to contact us? Add that second life membership room after all these years. We only have one life membership room in like 2 temples in North America. That's it. Krishna.com, where I work, frequently asked question. Almost every day we get the life member from somewhere in the world asking us, which temples, please, I want a list, which temples actually have guest facilities? Because what we were promised is not what we get when we call those temples. So, build guest accommodation if you want people to come to your temple and have an experience, right? And Alatra, that's our big challenge right now. We're trying to build guest accommodations. Improve your website, improve your social media, empower young people to, reach out over social media, YouTube, etc. Podcast your Srimad Bhagavatam class, right? People were saying, how do I start a podcast? Wisdom of the sages. What is wisdom of the sages? What do? Bhagavatam class. They just read Bhagavatam and they discuss. So, how many of our temples, we've been doing this, right? But we just haven't podcasted it. Other suggestions? These were just some things to get discussion started.
So one thing I noticed in India, a big way of spreading Krishna consciousness into mainstream media,
Mainstream media, yes. Mm,
and there's no subscription; it's free.
mm,
So we can take a lead to have a little channel.
Yeah.
It could even be a mainstream media.
Did you know that anybody can have a YouTube channel nowadays, right? So if you have good content, you get lots of people watching it. So how are those young people who want to create YouTube channels?
When you're talking about this and getting excited, at the same time, I can kind of, I don't want to say frustrated, but like, how do we move forward? So I'm really curious, is there a temple, a community is finding very good success in empowering our young people and showing results?
Yes.
Who?
Toronto, for example. In Toronto, for many years, Dr. Swami has been on this mission to empower the young people. And he's on his second generation of young people now who are leading the temple, leading the festivals, organizing the Rath Yatras. And when you go there and you see the success, they have so many people coming to the Sunday feast, they don't know what to do with them. He's like, they have 2,000 people coming to their little temple room on a Sunday. They just can't fit them. They have to try to rent a hall. At the Rath Yatra Festival organized by the young people in Toronto, on Sunday morning, they have quote unquote yoga meltdown. And they invite all the yoga teachers in Toronto to come to the island. The Rath Yatra is being held and do yoga class right there. Because it's usually a slow morning. You've been traveling with us, right? Sunday morning on the island, right before everything else starts. Quiet, peaceful, right? Beautiful. They invite all the yoga teachers to come to yoga class. They have a whole area roped off, yoga meltdown. And as soon as they finish their asanas and yoga, the kirtans start, the entertainments start. It's like they've captured them, right? It's like captive audience. And all around them, the festival starts. Prasadam distribution. They have multiple prasadam distribution tents, book stalls everywhere. It's amazing. I highly recommend you visit Toronto Rath Yatra. Where else? Bhaktivedanta Manor. Country of the Moon.
I believe that at least we need to equip systematically everybody who's interested in participating. And by equip, I mean specifically or exclusively training like we're doing here, but just make all the materials, all the resources available. So if any or you say, okay, I sign up, and then there is like an orientation. Okay, you have the wisdom of the sage. You can either spread this or do something similar. You can have, say, be a sage page by page, because it's a resource. So if we pull together all the resources, it's a major wealth. I give an example. Jehovah's Witnesses, for instance, they truly equip their preachers for their that votes, questions and answers. Because this is asked.
Yep. Who are the fastest growing religion? What's the fastest growing new religion in the world? The Mormons. What do the Mormons do? I'm just picking up on your point. The boys go out for 2 years, the girls for a year and a half. How did they prepare them to go out on their mission?
They have digital accolades. They have the digital accolades. On the website, they provide a tab and they provide a digital library where they have videos and clips that they show, and it's very, very high quality animated videos.
Mission training centers, MTCs. They send them to mission training centers to prepare them to preach in whatever country. So, trying to say this very quickly. The Mormons they started this 50 years ago. They didn't always have this. One day it just hit them that this would be a good idea. They said, we need to change our culture. We need to get our young people out there. Just like we're now saying, we need to get our young people, more engaged. And they started to change the culture to introduce this mission trip as a concept. And and it's not funded by the church, believe it or not. It's funded by the kids and the parents themselves. They start saving up for the mission trip from the day they turn 13. Right? They put pocket money aside, work side jobs, whatever the parents help them. Everybody contributes to the fund. And they write a letter to the church, and the letter says, please let me know where you would like me to serve. Send that letter in. And on their 16th birthday, they get a response. And it used to come on a big scroll, now it comes by email from the head of the Mormon church. And it's a big occasion. They gather the family around at the dinner table. It's a big reveal. Where does God want me to preach, basically? They open up the scroll or they open up the email and it says, the church elders have decided that you need to go and preach in, drumroll, Brazil. Right? So he's like, I don't speak Portuguese. I don't know how to preach in Brazil. Right? And the church provides them the resources. They give them 2 years from they turn 16 till they turn 18. They don't leave on their mission trip till they turn 18. Now you have 2 years to prepare. You know you're going to Brazil, training center for 6 months. Learn Portuguese. Learn how to preach the essential 20 questions that everybody asks you in Portuguese, right? Right? Figure it out. Learn about the Portuguese culture. Learn about their ways, their customs, and things so you can relate to people when you get there, because you're going to be knocking on doors. They have to work 6 days of the week. When they come there and they fly to Brazil, to the city. They're met by a Mormon elder couple who's going to look after them for those 2 years, and they have to go with a buddy. So there's always two, not by themselves. So they get a buddy. They're assigned a buddy. They go there. They're met by the Mormon elder couple who take care of them for that 2 years, and they have to check in with them weekly. Like, how's it going? Give the report. 6 days a week, they're expected to knock on doors, just like we read, Lord Nityananda Prabhu's message, knocking on doors, getting everyone to chant Hare Krishna. So they're expected to knock on doors and tell everyone they meet about the Book of Mormon. and to be good people in the neighborhood and to help old ladies cross the street. And if anybody's moving, they show up and they help, right? And they have to journal that in their journal. They get one day off, and then it's all over again, 6 days a week, knocking on doors. And any contact that they get, anybody who's favorable, gets entered into the central database in Salt Lake City. So when they leave their mission trip, right, that contact is still there. And the next person who gets sent there follows up and visits them again until they become a Mormon, right? Just keep preaching to them. When are we going to have our own database, right? When are we going to be organized with our follow-up? That's the basic model. And we were trying to create a Krishna conscious gap year experience from the youth ministry. Start this paradigm shift. To start encouraging our youth to consider and our parents to consider sending their kids on a gap year. Because the major Ivy League universities are actually requesting their, what do you call them, first year applicants, right? The freshmen. We will defer your acceptance. You're accepted. Harvard, whatever, MIT, you're accepted to the course. We take you. We're going to defer it for 1 year because we want you to go out there, experience life, and take a gap year, figure out what you really want to do with yourself and with life, and then come back and then choose a major that you're actually going to complete within 4 years. Because it makes us look bad if you change your major halfway through, right? So the gap year is a thing now. Anybody who's going to universities, they're encouraged to take a gap year. You might as well take a Christian conscious gap year. We're telling our young people, you might as well use that time to study Bhakti Shastra, live in a temple, get some ashram experience, go serve with Harinam Ruchi or with the Harinam ashram in New York if you're a boy, or go to Vrindavan and spend some time with the 24-hour kirtan, which seems to be the thing that all of our young boys want to do. Right? We have to find some opportunities for the girls also. Go and stay at the Bhakti Center and preach, right? For 6 months or a year. Go to Brooklyn Temple. They have a facility. Who's here from Brooklyn? Yeah. Go and talk to Kameji. She'll take care of you, right? Fill our temples with young people is the idea for a year. Because if all of our young people do a gap year, and they want to stay at one of our ISKCON temples, imagine, right? How many numbers we could have. So that's one of our initiatives right now at the youth ministry to try to get this gap year started. But we need all of your help. It can't just be little old Manorama and a couple of helpers. Right? We need to change the vision from our leadership perspective. The leaders need to say, this is important. This is what we want to start doing. We want to start engaging our youth more.
Just wanted to add this. Probably I should have to go on the whole. Bhakti Center in Penn State, 1,000 students. The amazing work. So many students actually come. And then program, not just come, but they come very seriously.
You're running a Bhakti Center at Penn State.
They kind of here to be tonight, but also to experience, to see in practice what the lifestyle look like. So, the temples can always partner with some kind of student club at the center in those campuses, especially because Srila Prabhupada encouraged preach of the universities, colleges a lot. And they did the youth, right? So it's the time when they explore the whole.
How did Srila Prabhupada spread the movement in the first 20 years based on rhetorical question? Not the method, but who, with whom, how, who helped? Young people, right? How old were those devotees back in the day? 20. Srila Prabhupada's, that famous story, he's in Montreal, he's spinning the globe, he's pointing to cities and he's sending those couples to different places, right? You go to New York, you go to, whatever, Trinidad, right? Rukmini Devi, Gauravani's mother, raises her hand. How old was Rukmini? She says, even the girls, Srila Prabhupada, she was 16 years old. Prabhupada's sending them around the world to preach and open temples. It's because youth have what? Energy, right? Not anymore. I can't keep up with them anymore.
We see this like but I know you have some awareness of this kind of because
lost the 90 for 90. And regularly on reading, even slowly moving. And we got some reading. That's why for Indians in the college, we will take some facilities where where people will take that facility and people from the youth or students and they come and they reading out for people.
Yes.
That was
So many wonderful ways that we can expand preaching and reach out to young people and engage young people in our movement. This base system that Radha Shampabu started.
So to mention a quick thing, since you're speaking about the gap years and
Mhm.
innocent ladies. I just came from a really amazing ashram in New Zealand that's based on what you're saying in this youth category from 20 to 30 or 18 to 30. There's about 12 ladies there who are stable, who've been practicing for over 4 years in the ashram. And they're running 2 preaching centers, 2 restaurants, and doing a full-time Sufi Dhamma program as well. It's quite encouraging. I think the youngest girl that's there is 18. She's 18.
Prabhu was asking about examples. So maybe connect with here. Devamrita Swami has been running an amazing program in New Zealand. They called it the Loft Program originally. I don't know what it's currently called. Still?
There's one called a hot oven, like some running Sobranish, so some Granatas, and then running it's called the Buffalo.
Lounge.
Friday
The idea to make Christian consciousness relevant to the students. And for the first year, some of them don't even realize that it's the Hare Krishna movement. Right. Gradually, they
We also have most of the devotees in Ashram meeting my union reaching program. That's one of the ways that a lot of youth come go to the first year. And in the first year, they don't know what to do, and they're like, they just come to the meeting late.
I just want to, I'm a testimony to that because I came through.
he came through that program. He's a testament to that. Now he's vice president here.
we love that we are all these
No.
What do you do?
because when I was a student, I was inspired that's what you experience.
Yes.
All the students get together and saw you were there, it was really for me.
I'm sitting here to encourage you to help. Not for you to say, point the finger back and say, Manorama, do you have a plan? I've been trying to do this for 27 years to get ISKCON to gradually move into this direction. And we're hitting that critical time right now where everybody's thinking about it, right? Because the generational shift is happening, older devotees are retiring. So this is a good time to really move forward with this. And I'm not just trying to sit here and say we should just, increase preaching to young people, right? Engage young people and spreading the movement. We're also saying, what can we do better? Answering the phone, building guest facilities, welcoming guests. Srila Prabhupada in 26 Second Avenue instructed the devotees there should be a jar of gulab jamuns all the time, constantly, for any guest who comes in. So there's always prashadam. I imagine the first thing you get, right? Gulab jamuns. Who's doing that? I mean, I want to stay positive, right? So, but in my own temple, if you're not a big, rich, wealthy donor and you come, in the middle of the week, you might get some leftover rice or something out of the prashadam fridge, Like, here's some leftovers that are a couple of days old if you're coming at the wrong time. We need to have proper, we need to think, guests are coming constantly, not just, at the Sunday feast. How are we going to welcome them? How are we going to reciprocate? Create an environment so they want to stay and they want to bring their friends, right?
Just thinking that we really need a few adults to go to temples to talk to parents and explain some of these questions that you're saying. Because the parents may say, oh, I'm worried about my kid not going to college right away. But if you were educated to be able to give them an example of how your child can go to these ashrams and it not affect your child in a negative way, matter of fact, it be totally positive way, then our parents might start to think about sending their kids to Gainesville, Dallas, Brooklyn, they're not educated. Who's gonna be like, we do what we normally.
Yes, we need to educate the parents. It's very hard for parents to understand why their child who's about to go to medical school should take a gap year. Try to convince them, right? Ruben.
Yeah, I just wanted to, you know, to kind of along the conversation having what having abuse youth, I can say in my own opinion that I believe Manorama has been doing the most to engage and keep our youth in this kind of American inspired, continue to Christian consciousness with the bus tours that he's been doing for how many years now? 27.
We started in 1995 and we took a couple of years break during COVID.
So I think if we're as leaders in our communities and temples, if we want to find out how to engage more with our youth and what to do, something very practical, Manar suggested many times, and me, I've heard him say many times, is have a youth department, have a youth leader as part of the temple's department. So it's not just like an informal, whichever youth leader decides to step up and take the responsibility. It's a position at the temple. And so when somebody moves on, gets married, or can't do it anymore, that's something we're looking for in our temple, someone to fulfill that role. And then by having that, we're empowering them, they're engaged, they're part of our community. And then I think
we've had so many youth leaders in North America over 27 years who've come and gone. And usually it's because they're a good person, so every department wants them. It's like, oh, can you become the book distribution leader? Can you become the Harinam leader? And before you know it, they're moved on to another service. If you have a youth department at your temple, you as the temple president take on more of an initiative to actually make sure that you have a youth program, somebody staffing that department. Also, that the youth, you want to engender appreciation and gratitude towards your temple, right? The young people should feel like amazing youth program that ISKCON of blank, your temple is putting on for me, right? And I'm so grateful to my temple for doing this while I was in my difficult teenage years. What's happening right now is, oh, I'm grateful to Manorama and to the bus tours or to TSI, the Sangha Initiative, or to Pandavasena. You're missing out. You're not developing gratitude towards your temple, right? They're becoming loyal Bhakturis or loyal TSIs or loyal Pandavasenas. No, you're missing out. Every temple should have a youth department that takes a more active interest in organizing programs for your local youth.
I want to add Manorama and Jairada.
Manorama and Jairada, yes.
Both of them together.
My wife has a lot to do with it.
My comment is just on the Mormon one. Sorry for my ignorance, but I was working with Pancharatna group in Mayapur that we wanted to do some Western outreach with preaching to the youth. So we did like 2 year research with 20 devotees, and we studied all the religions. We studied what are the strength, weakness, thought, and uses. So we studied about Mormon religion. So Mormon was very successful till 2011. And after that, they are going very down. Their success rate was 2.78%, and now they're 0.58%. So it was on religious news service. They study all the religions, they keep all the stats and everything. So the problem with the youth right now, they study that is because they have a fear from organized religion. So that's what is happening. And even ISKCON is also coming to that category. Basically, when the youth come, they want an experience.
Yeah.
So that experience very much was lacking. Even Mormon, if you go 10 years back, they have experience. But now they don't have experience. Because they came to my house 2 years back. And I was kind of very convinced with them. Therefore, well, I will come to your program.
Transformational experiences, right? Real transformational experiences, not institutionalized religion.
Neutral clothing and everything, and I'm right there. But I see the experience is missing. So even I took converting from the other.
We have like 30 seconds left before the altar doors open here. So I just want to thank you so much. We can talk much more about this. I'm sure Prabhu has modules about this coming up in our course, right? So we'll have plenty of opportunity. Thank you so much.